back. You're watching the game. Game 5 or Game 1? The Boston Celtics grabbed their first win after Miami Heat went 3 straight in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, do the Boston Celtics have enough fight in them to extend the series, or will the Miami Heat move on to the NBA Finals? Now, we'll take a look at what could happen in Game 5 with basketball analyst Coach Mark Molina. Coach Mark, thank you very much for making it. Alam ko, outside is not a pleasant place to be right now, but it's great that you're here. So, let's start off first with Boston, because a lot of people already had them written off. Okay, na-sweep yung Lakers. That was the Boston Celtics turn to be swept. Unfortunately for Lakers fans, that did not happen. But you take a look at Boston right now. Do they still have the chance, Coach, knowing that they are down 3-1 in the series so far?
They do, because they're really the more talented team in this series. It's very surprising that they lost the first 2 games at home, and then of course Game 3 was a blowout for the Heat. The Heat, they're playing very well with Butler, of course, but Boston has more talent. If that talent plays well, plays hard, and plays together, they have a chance to make history for me.
Well, Coach, at this point, the Boston Celtics, of course, nasa kanila yung pressure because, if they lose, they're out of the playoffs and, the Heat make it to the finals. But if they win this Game 5, how pivotal is this? Malilipat ba yung pressure sa Miami Heat if they win this, Coach?
Absolutely. Malilipat talaga because that you have to close out at home.
Right.
And you don't want to play Game 7 in Boston. Now, the Sixers saw that in the previous round. Game 7 in Boston. That's where really the home court advantage will exist. I think Miami has a fair chance to win either Game 5 or 6, but going to a Game 7, definitely not. So if Miami loses Game 5, you're right, the pressure shifts entirely to Miami. They have to close out at home.
And Pao, coming from experience yan sa Sixers ni...
I was not going to say anything about that. Pero just to play devil's advocate here, Coach, I'm talking about the pressure there. Can we make an argument that Miami Heat are actually under more pressure? Because right now, the Celtics, no one expects them to advance. So with that in mind, is that less pressure on them knowing that no one expects us to do this anyway?
Well, right now there's no pressure yet really on the Celtics. But you said Miami, if they lose up 3-0, yes, it's never happened before. Up 3-0 and you lose a series. Right. If you lose 2 straight games and suddenly it's 3-2, the pressure shifts entirely to Miami.
Right.
Because everybody was already expecting a Denver-Miami final before the Game 4 win of the Celtics. But I don't think home court advantage matters right now unless it's Game 7.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Miami has really 2 good chances to close this out. The Celtics, they've won more games on the road than at home. So it's going to be interesting what happens in Game 5.
Well, Coach Jimmy Butler actually said after that game that, they're not worried. They're going to listen to some music and go back to Boston and try to win on the road. But let's talk about a certain matchup that we've been talking about the whole series. Coach, Jimmy Butler and Jayson Tatum, not just in the game, but in the 4th quarter. Jimmy, of course, has been that guy for Miami in the 4th quarter. Jayson Tatum, though, sa last game lang nagpakita in the 4th quarter, Coach.
You're right. Tatum, especially on the road. On the road, usually the role players struggle. It has to be Jayson Tatum to carry them. In the Sixers win in Game 6, Tatum carried them in the 4th. He did it again in Game number 4. Butler has done it consistently.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You cannot beat the Heat. It's hard to beat Miami because of Jimmy Butler's heroics in the 4th when it's a close game.
Right.
Tatum has done it from time to time, but not yet consistently. But he is very capable. If he can hit 3-4 3-pointers the way he did in the previous round against Philadelphia, the way he did in Game number 4,
right,
then this is going to be a totally different ball game. The advantage to me is still with Butler because of his track record.
Yeah.
He's proven to do that time and time again. But Tatum is the better player. For me, he's the more talented player.
More
so if
skilled,
he can,
yes.
More skilled. So if he can get that toughness, which comes with time.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe this is the development of Jayson Tatum, all of the learnings of the playoff failures of before. Maybe this is time to shine. Maybe a win in Game 5 where he plays good in the clutch once again could be the turnaround of his career.
Jimmy Butler and Jayson Tatum, obviously all the eyes will be on the 2 of them, but then you have to look at the supporting cast as well.
Yep.
Kanina pinag-usapan natin a bit off the air actually that I believe in Miami Heat shooting, and you take a look at the shooting numbers here for the Miami Heat, especially from 3-point land. Vincent, Strus, and Martin have combined a total of 43.6% from beyond the arc, 8 percentage points higher than the combination of Smart, White, and Brogdon. Is that something that you still feel now? Okay, we'll continue on in the series, or how many games left we have in the series?
Definitely, whoever makes more three-pointers among those three. You can add on Duncan Robinson if you
Yeah,
want,
right.
and maybe Grant Williams with the Celtics. But whoever makes more three-pointers will have a big advantage. Games 1 to 3, those three guys, Caleb Martin,
Yep.
Strus, Gabe Vincent in game number 3, they were phenomenal.
high, yep.
And that's why they won the first 3 games. But in game 4, Grant Williams, I think, had 4 threes. And then you have contributions from Derek White. Marcus Smart, who struggled all series long, finally made some shots. Brogdon, not so much, but Brogdon can wake up as well. But I think it's very key, especially in the beginning, first 3 quarters. Whoever makes the more threes will have a lead going to the fourth quarter. And when it comes to the fourth quarter, if it's a close game,
Right.
then that's where the Tatum and Butler matchup will really matter.
Well, you're definitely right, Coach. But in the regular season, actually, Boston was the better three-point shooting
Yes.
team compared to the Miami Heat. That's not really the weapon of choice of Miami, but here in the playoffs, they've been on fire, and the Heat, they've been daring the Celtics to shoot
Yeah.
from the outside. Coach, can you talk to us a bit more about that zone na pinapakita ng Heat? They've been daring the Celtics to shoot the three.
Well, the good thing with the zone is because Spolstra runs this zone
Beautiful.
the entire season.
Right.
And that's why his players know what to do with the zone. This is not a gimmick.
Yeah.
Right.
This is really a main staple of their defense. And that's why they can give the Celtics different looks. They rush out on all the three-point shooters
Yep.
of the Celtics. It doesn't mean that if you're playing zone, you're making them shoot threes.
Right.
Definitely not. This is a matchup zone by Coach Spo, and it runs out on all the shooters. It makes you put the ball on the floor, and then they rotate, and they do a great job doing it.
You know, again, not to jump the gun here, but then Miami are still expected to be the team that advances to the finals. And you take a look at the health situation that you have. Tyler Hero still out, back to basketball activities. You don't know if he's going to be able to come back in time for the finals, though. You take a look at that. Do you feel that Miami have enough healthy pieces to actually challenge the Denver Nuggets should they advance to the finals and no one else gets hurt from this point on?
Well, I would say it's going to be very difficult,
Yeah.
but I don't want to doubt Butler and Spolstra at this point. They beat the
Pinoy pride.
Bucks. They're on the way to beating the Celtics. If they
Yep.
beat the Celtics, Denver is still the favorite, but I wouldn't say this is a mismatch because of what Spolstra and Butler, what they have done so far in these playoffs.
Well, and that Denver-centric question was courtesy of our producer, Rain Tixon. And actually, we have a lot more Denver to talk about because we talk more NBA as we look at the possible matchups in store for the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. Keep it here. You're watching the game.